Well, welcome to 700 Club Canada. And Bill, we've got a great opportunity to talk about, will God get me through this, whatever this is? And sometimes we feel without God, we have no hope to get through, but will he actually help us?
Yeah, well, when I find myself in that situation, I'm always reminded of the disciples in the storm. And it says they were terrified. They were terrified because they thought they were literally going to die. And I think many times we feel like we're in the storm. And I'll be the first to admit, I don't know why we experience storms all the time, but I do know God is able to get us through.
And sometimes the storm is in our family.
Yes.
And the family when there's someone who is struggling. And today we're going to talk about a family who struggled with Alzheimer's. And Alzheimer's is a disease affecting almost 50 million people, Bill. Isn't that shocking?
It is shocking.
And it touches people across every walk of life around the world. And today we're joined by someone whose life has been touched by this disease as she watched the mother she knew slowly fade away. Author Shelly Calcagno joins us today to discuss her book, The Longest Goodbye, which chronicles her family's journey with Alzheimer's. Welcome to 700 Club Canada, Shelly. So nice to have you with us.
Hi, Lori. It's great to be with you today.
Well, you've written a beautiful memoir, and it's a beautiful book, by the way.
Thank you.
That spans almost a decade with the story of slowly losing your mom to Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about the book's title, The Longest Goodbye, and why you wrote it.
Well, I certainly didn't set out to write this book, and I can honestly say it's not a book that I wanted to write. I didn't want to write a story about losing my mom. But over our 10-year journey, I began to process things by writing, and I realized that I was on this longest goodbye journey, and I just started to chronicle things. I started to post things on Instagram and my blog, and people just really started to respond. And I thought, maybe this is something that we need to talk about more. Maybe my story can help other people. So that's how the book came to be.
I love it. And I love the title, The Longest Goodbye. Why did you pick that title? Where did that come from?
Well, it's a common term actually when you're talking about Alzheimer's, the long goodbye, and I really, over 10 years, when you're losing someone you love to a disease like that, it's like you're saying little goodbyes to pieces of them along the journey, and it's almost like it's hard to wrap your brain around it. It's just such a long process, and you don't know how long each stage will last. You don't know what's coming next, and so it's just, yeah, it's the losing of someone you love little by little. And it's just a very, as the title says, a drawn out goodbye to somebody that you love.
Yeah, and as I read the book, which I just loved, I honestly couldn't put it down. I just felt
Thank you.
totally drawn into the story. And of course, all of us, with the numbers of people that are affected by this disease, we all know someone, right? So
hmm
take us back to when your mom was first diagnosed. What was that experience like for you?
Well, for us in our family, unfortunately, as I write in my book, my mom's the fourth one in her family to have Alzheimer's disease. And in the beginning, we saw small signs of things happening, of things changing with her, and it was almost almost couldn't say it out loud because we couldn't imagine that now this was happening to our mom. So at the beginning, it was just a very tender journey for us, just coming to grips with the fact that this was happening to us. And with Alzheimer's too, everyone is different, every patient's different. So you don't know what the journey ahead is going to look like. So there's also a little bit of fear in that in the beginning as well. So those are things that we had to navigate in the beginning.
Well, I'm sure people watching that are either on the journey or,
hmm
beginning or have been through the journey can relate with that.
hmm
It's hard to know. It's different for different people. And you
Yes.
describe in your book, it felt in this journey for you was like a decade. It was like a
hmm
trapeze. You felt like a trapeze artist. You were balancing on kind of this thin wire between joy and grief. So how did you
Yes.
navigate these two seemingly opposing emotions over the years?
Well, I feel like the theme of my life has just been how do I walk through the middle, as you said, of joy and of pain. And, it's hard to know some days, which way you're going to lean more and what's going to happen. And so I really just had to get anchored in Jesus, and I just had to trust that He was with me in the middle of my journey. And Ecclesiastes 3 talks about how there is a time for everything under the sun, a season. And it just talks about these different opposites that we go through in life. And so I just realized that as I went on this journey. And it's interesting, I can look back and I can almost pair every event of joy in my life with an equal event of pain. And they've just really coexisted for me in this last season. And so I've just tried to learn to embrace both, because that's part of this glorious, messy life that we're part of, and just stay anchored in the middle and try to hold on in the middle. And most importantly, look to Jesus just to hold on to me as well.
Well, I think as I read your story and you shared so personally, not just the pain, but what really struck me, Shelley, was at the end of each chapter, you have like reflections for people. And as you're
Hmm.
telling the story, you're bringing encouragement to people. And I think that's where I felt you're encouraging people in the pain, no matter what the pain is, to find the joy. You say, look
Hmm.
for the gifts along the way. What can
Hmm.
that look like for someone who's maybe going through this?
Well, I don't think that's always an easy thing to do. I know for me, at times it was very hard. But I also determined that I had a wonderful, incredible mom my whole life, and my life was just filled with so much joy with her. And so I didn't want to lose all that. I didn't want to lose all the things she'd poured into me, and the gifts, and all those moments. So I just made sure that we just still celebrated those moments, that we still looked for the good in every situation. And this journey could seem like a big mountain, but instead I just broke things up into moments. And I thought, this is what we're going to do this week. This is how we're going to look for joy in this situation. And it wasn't always easy, but now looking back, I just feel like I just have this collection now of just precious memories that I had to intentionally look for, but I'm so glad that I have them now.
Well, I love that. And this book is really a collection of those treasures. And it's a beautiful telling of your mom's journey. And, final words here, Shelley, just in a few moments. What would you say to someone who literally right now is facing this similar journey?
Hmm. I would just say that I know that your days probably feel long and often without hope, but I always feel like there's hope to be found. And Hebrews 6 talks about how hope is the anchor for our soul. So I would just encourage you to hang on. I would encourage you to look for the joy, even the little moments of joy that don't seem to be big deals. Just look for those little moments of joy in every day, and surround yourself with people who will help you and encourage you. And I would just encourage you that you're not on this journey alone. Just, yeah.
That's beautiful, Shelley. Well, here's how you can get Shelley's encouragement. For more about Shelley and her book, The Longest Goodbye, go to 700club.ca. I've already got my 3 copies that I'm ready to give to some friends to help encourage them in their life. Thank you so much, Shelley.
Thanks for having me today, Lori.